Welcome to Module 5 of the Airline Engineering Supply Chain course. In this module, we'll explore the strategies and mechanics behind procurement and contracting in aviation maintenance, repair and operations, or MRO. We'll look at sourcing strategies, contract models, negotiations, and how procurement teams manage relationships with suppliers in this high-stakes, safety-critical industry. Purpose of procurement is to ensure cost-effective, timely and quality-assured sourcing of parts and services that are essential for aircraft maintenance and reliability. Strategic means focusing on long-term supplier relationships, contracts, cost management and risk mitigation. Tactical, on the other hand, is all about day-to-day parts ordering, spot buys and urgent or AOG sourcing. For example, an airline planning to add 15 A350s must engage in strategic procurement for long lead items like landing gear or avionics systems, while at the same time managing tactical sourcing for consumables during daily line maintenance. So, let's talk about direct procurement. This includes things like spare parts, which can be rotables, repairables, or expendables. And of course, it also covers tools and ground support equipment, often called GSE. Now, moving on to indirect procurement. Here we're looking at IT systems such as AMOS and TRAX. Plus, there are office supplies, personal protective equipment, or PPE and utilities to consider as well. Finally, there's services procurement. This covers MRO outsourcing and also engine or APU repair contracts. It's all about making sure essential services are sourced efficiently. So a PBH or Power by the Hour agreement for engines is basically a form of outsourced service procurement where you pay fixed costs per flight hour. It's a way to manage maintenance expenses more predictably, you know? When it comes to supplier pre-qualification, there are a few key things to look for. First, certifications like ESA or FAA approval are essential. Then you want to check their track record, any past audits, and of course, their safety history. Now for selection criteria, you want to consider cost, quality, lead time, geographical proximity, and technical capability. All of these factors help ensure you're choosing the right supplier for your needs. So when it comes to the RFQ or RFP process, it's really important to clearly define the scope, your service level agreements, and also any volume assumptions you might have. This all feeds into a competitive bidding process, making sure you get the best possible outcome. For evaluation tools, scorecards are often used with a weighted scoring system. Typically, that's 40% for cost, 30% for quality, 20% for delivery, and 10% for support. This helps ensure a balanced and objective assessment. For example, when selecting an MRO for C-checks on a fleet of B777s, you'll need to balance price competitiveness with turnaround time and parts availability. It's all about finding the right mix to keep your operations running smoothly. Power by the Hour contracts, or PBH contracts, mean the supplier is paid per flight hour for maintenance and availability. This approach reduces capital expenditure and transfers risk, making it, well, a popular choice in many cases. With time and materials contracts, payment is made for the actual work performed and the materials used. This method brings greater cost variability, so, expenses can fluctuate quite a bit. Fixed price contracts offer a predictable cost, and they're often used in projects where the scope is well understood. So, let's talk about hybrid contracts. These actually combine elements of power by the hour and time and materials approaches. Mixing fixed fees with variable elements. It's a flexible option that can suit a range of needs. Now moving on to key contract clauses. These typically cover things like performance guarantees, warranty terms, delivery obligations, and of course, penalties for delay. Each of these plays a really important role in protecting both parties. For example, a power-by-the-hour contract for an A320 landing gear overhaul might include availability guarantees, specific turnaround times, and a fixed hourly rate no matter what defects are found. This kind of arrangement helps to manage both costs and expectations quite effectively. Before entering any negotiation, it's really important to do your homework. So, you'll want to look into market pricing trends, review supplier financials, and check benchmark rates. Now let's talk about leverage points. These can include things like volume, establishing long-term partnerships, and even joint risk sharing with your suppliers. When it comes to tactics, you might consider your BATNA, which stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. You could also look at bundling services to help reduce costs, and don't forget to request discounts for prompt payment or early renewal. These approaches can really make a difference, honestly. So, here's an example. Negotiating a multi-airport tool calibration contract with shared service levels to really leverage scale. Now, let's talk about KPIs for supplier management. These include things like on-time delivery, quality incidents, warranty claim rate, and AOG responsiveness. Scorecards and quarterly reviews, well, they're used to track trends and identify improvement areas. So, let's talk about the corrective action process. This usually involves conducting a root cause analysis, preparing 8D reports, and carrying out follow-up audits to make sure the issues are properly addressed. For example, if a supplier fails to deliver rotables on time, it actually triggers a quarterly review and, the implementation of a joint improvement plan to help get things back on track. Now, when we look at risk categories, we consider things like supply disruption, counterfeit parts, geopolitical issues, and of course, currency risk. These are all important factors to keep in mind. So, when it comes to mitigation tools, there are a few key strategies you should know about. These include dual sourcing, stock buffers, supplier audits, and escrow accounts. In Module 5, we explored how procurement functions in the airline engineering supply chain, from sourcing parts and services, selecting suppliers, managing contracts, negotiating effectively, and evaluating supplier performance to mitigating supply risks. Procurement in aviation isn't just about cost, it's about safety, reliability, and long-term strategic value. For the next module, here's some suggested pre-reading. Take a look at the case study on GE versus Rolls-Royce engine support strategies, and also review IATA's procurement best practices for airline technical operations. And that brings us to the end of this lecture.